Can you talk about it on Instagram?
So actually on Instagram, once I started promoting the book, I realized I became shadow banned because I kept saying the word over and over again.
Okay, hi team. I'm Katie from Repeater, and I'm interviewing our author Liara Roux, who's the author of
Whore of New York.
As you can see by this fan art. To comply by YouTube censorship rules, we have changed certain words in this conversation, and we're going to start by giving you words that this image represents. If you start, Liara.
Accountant.
Corn.
Boar.
And this is the Boar of New York. What is the book exactly?
So the book is a memoir about my decision to become a boar. And really sort of starts with childhood, actually, to sort of understand my upbringing, which was very conservative Christian, and how that sort of pushed me towards this industry. I think I really wanted to explain what sex work is really like, because I think a lot of people have this crazy idea that it's this like crazy, dirty industry with a bunch of exploitation. And of course there are exploitative elements, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be that different from any other job.
So Liara, why is this book relevant now?
So I think this book is almost more relevant now than when I initially wrote it. I think since the passage of Sesta Fosta, which is this really harmful legislation in the US that basically made it very difficult to talk about at all online without being censored. Workers are really more silenced than ever, and that is especially obvious in this YouTube video. All this annoying censorship we have to do. And I think, unfortunately, workers have always been a bit stigmatized because people have a lot of misconceptions about what the work is actually like. And unfortunately, when we're unable to talk about it online, we're unable to really share our stories the way everyone else is. And it makes it easier for conservatives to pass this really harmful legislation that results in people losing their jobs. And one of the things we're seeing is that Trump has this roadmap for what his presidency will look like, and he really wants to criminalize porn, actually. You know, in-person sex work like I did is already illegal, but they want to basically totally get rid of any sexuality whatsoever online, make it heavily criminalized, which I think is pretty fucked up.
So the book came out in 2021, and you're now the Boar of London.
Oh yeah,
technically.
Yeah, I'm living in London at the moment. It's true.
And what are you working on now?
Right now I'm getting my master's in writing. Finally going back to school. Yeah. What I'm most excited that I'm working on right now is a book that sort of deals with just the history of First Amendment protections for speech. So it's kind of looking at Grove Press, publishing Henry Miller, and all these other naughty authors, and basically having their speech be protected in the courts under First Amendment rights, because before it was prosecuted as obscenity. And I essentially want to say that this same speech that's protected in print publishing, like in books, you know, this protection that these works have should also apply to anything online. It's a bit ridiculous that I'm able to publish my book in New York, have it be sold in bookstores, have it in libraries, but I can't have it online at all. I can't talk about it. Even this video about it needs to be censored.
Can you talk about it on Instagram?
So actually on Instagram, once I started promoting the book, I realized I became shadow banned because I kept saying the word over and over again, and they just totally shut down my account, basically.
What are one of your favorite people who feature in the book?
So I really love being a mean person, actually. And it was really hard writing a memoir because I wanted to be more mean, but obviously these are like real people, and so I felt a bit bad and felt like I had to be generous to them even if I didn't like them. But there's one man in the book who I was really not generous at all to.
I think I know who you mean.
And it was this guy that a friend of mine at the time was dating, and he was just this really obnoxious, horrible human being. And so writing him in this way, that was just really just like, I felt like he's so despicable that it was very easy for me to just roast him.
But what about the guy? Oh, I actually think it's probably one of the most outrageous things I've ever read in my entire life.
Oh, that scene. I'm just gonna say it and you can censor out the words. But this guy who's one of my clients, he had the most disgusting I'd ever seen. It was like yellow and clumpy and like thick. And like when it was just like kind of oozing out. And it was horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a traumatizing experience.
Yes.
So I'm glad I was able to make the most of it. I'm like, if I had to experience it, now the rest of you have to read about it.
Yeah,
and that's a bad day. That's a bad day at work.
But mostly they're good days at work.
Oh, I mean, it's always mixed, you know. It's not an easy job, I would say, but I always tell people, I'm like, I'd much rather have done sex work than worked at Starbucks. Like, I think working at Starbucks would have, like, destroyed my soul and killed me. But doing sex work, on the other hand, was somehow much less demeaning feeling.
Maybe what is one of the most valuable lessons that sex work has taught you in order to how to move through life?
Actually, one of the most valuable lessons, I think, is just how to say no to things, how to say no to people in a way, you know, that's, I think I used to just be really blunt and just be like, no, I don't want this, no. And I've learned now how to change no's into yeses, but like sort of shift the focus where it's sort of like, oh, you know, I'm not feeling like that right now, but maybe we can do this instead. Like, it would be something like when clients would be like trying to play with my nipples too much and they'd be overstimulated, and I'd be like, okay, you know, like, that was really great, and now maybe I can take care of you or something, you know, like this redirection of energy where it's like, okay, I like the energy, it's good energy, but maybe we can move this elsewhere, and figuring out how to do that in a way that doesn't make people feel ashamed, because I think sometimes setting boundaries, it can be easy to, you know, make someone feel judged. Reading your book would be it's a really amazing place to go if you are considering sex work, or if this is something you're already getting into and you want to hear another voice and experience. And maybe I might ask, have you got any advice for anyone who's considering it or has been working in it? Yeah, so I think my experience is interesting because I definitely had some really shitty experiences, but I also had a lot of very positive ones, so it's a very neutral look at my experiences in sex work. But I think there's also a lot of people who've had more negative experiences, and a lot of people who've had even more positive ones. I think for people who are really interested in starting sex work, my advice would definitely be really focus on safety. Safety is definitely number one. If you can, working online is really good because you can screen clients beforehand. You know, always give people a quick Google if you can, find out whatever information you can about them, and always listen to your gut. If something about the situation feels off, especially if it's something where they're promising you a lot of money, if it seems like someone's being manipulative, you can always just say no. It's never worth it risking your life for money. I think one of the reasons why I never had anything really scary or terrible happen to me is because I always felt comfortable walking out of situations. Like, it's always okay to leave. Like, it's very naughty.
Okay, so look out for a version of Corn of New York.
Yeah, just up on my farm, upstate New York, hanging out with my boars and watching my corn grow. But it's like sexy corn. Corn cob, like hands on its hips.
Dancing.
Sexy lips.
Yeah.
Corn. I'm in the cornfield with my sexy corn and my sexy boar.